Hey guys, Godfather of Anxiety here again. I just wanted to do a short video on anxiety disorder and the effects it has on impulse control. I feel that this is under talked about subject in dealing with the consequences and some of your symptoms and what you'll be battling when it comes to anxiety disorder. This is really affected in a major way, and it will affect your life in a major way. So I feel it's really important to talk about this. And when I hear people talk about people with panic disorder, anxiety disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, I don't hear a lot of specific coverage about how these conditions make us such poor decision makers. But I'll break that down a little bit in this video, and just to give you guys why I feel it's important is because it really will be something you need to look out for if you're affected by anxiety, any of the anxiety spectrum conditions. This is going to actually, this will be something you'll have to look out for. And so, this isn't rocket science. You guys know from watching my channel and from probably, your own therapist and your own research, you realize that with the anxiety spectrum disorders, you're most likely stuck in fight or flight. So this is going to dump adrenaline. It's going to dump cortisol. It's literally just on its own going to make you, it's going to lower cognitive function, and it's going to have an effect on your ability to think and reason. And also your emotions, and I've talked about this too. Angry outbursts were a real problem when I first started having anxiety issues, and actually for that entire 6 years that I was really not effectively treated, angry outbursts were a part of my life that I had to deal with. So what I wanted to get into, though, is why this happens. So one of the main reasons that anxiety has such a profound effect on our impulse control, any of these anxiety conditions, and for that matter, depression will do this too, it inhibits your sleep. So now let's think about this. Your body's stuck in fight or flight, which already raises cortisol levels, lowers your intelligence, can affect your memory. Again, because we're only meant to be in fight or flight for a few minutes at a time to save our lives. We are not meant to be stuck in fight or flight. So, the physiological effects, your body just basically can't keep up with the chemicals being dumped. And you'll end up, again, losing memory. You'll end up losing cognitive function. You'll feel dumber. This is going to happen. And then on top of this, the snowball effect is that you're not going to get sleep. And go ahead and tell me how many good decisions you guys make when you haven't slept. Occasionally before I had anxiety disorder, I might have a creative thought, when I was slightly sleep deprived. But for the most part, my decision making when it comes to diet, exercise, when it comes to budget and spending, if I'm tired, in my whole life, that's never been when I make the most sound decisions. It's just not. Well, when you're the kind of tired that you are, when you have anxiety disorder and you're stuck in fight or flight, you will make the dumbest decisions of your life right then. And you'll also frequently be angry. And your ability to control your emotions and to think deeply are going to be inhibited. And that's going to make it so that, you make poor decisions. I mean, I'd like to know how many people have had to declare bankruptcy, not just because they've run up medical bills trying to get to the bottom of anxiety disorder, but also because of the poor decisions they made spending when they were sleep deprived, stuck in fight or flight, grasping for control, grasping for maybe a positive impulse, right? So you try to get that by either going out to eat or, by spending money on a hobby that you don't have to try to feel normal again. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And, so it'll affect your ability to make sound decisions with your budget, relationships. Your emotions are in shambles when you have one of the anxiety spectrum conditions. So in general, your concentration won't be good. So your input to a conversation won't be as good for relationships. And then your sensitivity, your emotions, and especially for me, I noticed, angry outbursts and taking things more personally. Again, you got to remember, it's fight or flight. You're trying to stay alive. So that anger's right there. And it sometimes it makes no sense. You'll go from crying to, viciously angry, all because of the way that the adrenaline dumping and the cortisol dumping combined with the sleep deprivation have affected your ability to control your impulses. And so anger is a big one that you'll have problems controlling. I also had, obviously, guys, I've told you that I was as heavy as 365 pounds. So I'd lost all impulse control when it came to eating. My relationship suffered greatly too, because again, I had a quicker trigger than I normally have. I am very honest. I've always had a fairly substantial temper, but I've always been, prior to my anxiety disorder, and since I've been effectively treated, I'm in good control of my temper. It's never cost me anything big. I don't damage or destroy things. I'm in control of it. But when I was experiencing severe anxiety disorder and it wasn't treated, I absolutely, I put my hand through a door. I could go on and on with things that I've done that were out of character. I've never hurt anyone and I never would. That's not in my heart. But as far as angry outbursts, saying things you shouldn't say, being overly sensitive because your emotions, again, fight or flight keeps you, the object of fight or flight is to keep you alive. So you're sensitive to everything. That's why you can feel every symptom. That's why your body's just saying, okay, this is life or death situation. We need to keep you alive. And being in fight or flight is not good for relationships. It's not good for budgeting. It's not good for, controlling your anger. And these are all things that I noticed that were significant issues when I was untreated. And I want you guys to be aware of this. Normally you might trust yourself with decisions. If you are untreated with anxiety or depression, you might want to bounce them off somebody else that you trust, because we're sleep deprived. We're dumping adrenaline and cortisol. Our emotions aren't functioning the way they should, and we can make really dumb decisions. And the problem is these decisions will affect us for a very long time after you've recovered from the anxiety, if you get treated successfully. So for instance, financially you can do a lot of damage. Also, by being impulsive, you can do so much damage to relationships. If you say things or show anger that you don't normally show, or you say things to someone you love, it can traumatize that person, and you don't ever want to do that, especially to people that you love and who are important to you. So be aware if it's affecting your decisions. And guys, think about it. How many good decisions have you made when you were angry and sleep deprived and, you know, your mind wasn't clear? That's the exact description of how you are if you're severely affected by anxiety disorder or even clinical depression, I would argue. So I just wanted to touch base. I want to make a short video to have you guys be aware of your impulse control. Obviously, you guys know the keys to getting better is seeking treatment, and then working on sleep, exercise, diet, along with, cognitive behavioral therapy. But be aware of, your ability to make decisions if you're not currently effectively treated, because impulse control is really under attack when you have an anxiety condition. And even, again, I would also say I would add clinical depression in to this as well, because although depression might not dump as much cortisol, you might not dump as much adrenaline, you will be sleep deprived and you will not make sound decisions when your mind is not thinking clearly and your emotions aren't functioning correctly. So that's about all I want to say in this one. Guys, thank you so much for your engagement with the channel. I can't believe it's been almost a year that I've been making these videos. I'm very grateful to all the comments. Keep them coming. Like, share, subscribe. Let anyone you know who's going through one of these issues know about the channel. Thanks so much. And until my next video, guys, take care.